Good evening and welcome to the Simply Colorful FiberCast. Today's date is October 31st, 2014. My name in real life is Lynn Marquidant and I'm your host, but tonight for Halloween, I'm Jane Stickle. I made a quilt in 1863. I lived in Vermont and it was hard times, but I was very proud of that quilt that I made during the Civil War. So happy Halloween, everyone. I hope you can see me okay, and I hope you can see that I'm all dressed up for the occasion, and I hope you're having a good Halloween. What I thought I'd do tonight is still be productive because Simply Colorful is all about what we can get done together in 60 minutes. So I'm going to be doing some hand sewing on my Dear Jane quilt. Specifically, I have two different blocks I'm going to make tonight. You'll see I have, in addition to my traditional candle light, I have my little IKEA light so I can see. Hopefully you can see me. Send me email to lmarquidant@gmail.com. Tell me what you're doing for Halloween. Tell me if you've got trick-or-treaters. I've already heard from a few of you to say you wouldn't be here because of trick-or-treaters. A few of you I know are under the weather, and I hope that you're feeling well. And we'll get to all of that as we go through the next hour. So hello and welcome to FiberCast. I have my hand sewing materials, an old pincushion like they probably had, like Jane probably had. And what I thought I would do is, let me get my Jane book. Now, of course, she didn't have this in 1863. Fortunately, we have it here. And the first block I'm going to make is E1, called Aunt Exie's Flocks. Isn't that an interesting name? Exie. So it's that one. It looks a lot like another one that we have made in the past. And I have basted it. It's probably kind of hard to see that. And I've even threaded my needle. And we are ready to go on that. I got myself some bottom line thread. So thank you, Becca, for the recommendation, and to several others. It is very good. It's a very thin polyester thread, and I'm enjoying using it on my applique as well as on my hexies. I found these little fancy glasses. They're not quite as strong as the glasses that I usually use. So I figured this will make it more authentic and more like Jane probably struggled with when she was making her quilt. And yet we don't know much about Jane. Records back in the 1800s, especially for women, are difficult to find. And if there's one thing that it reminds me of is we need to take time to document our quilts, create diaries, put labels on the back of them. And I definitely am going to do some Friday nights of making labels. And I know some of you have. I know Karen, one night she made several labels. I saw you do that. And I know some of you are really good at making labels, and I need to learn from that, because that's the only way that your work is going to be remembered. Not all of it will. Like they said, Jane, in one article I was reading, Jane Stickle, because of the precision of her Dear Jane quilt, probably was quite an accomplished quilter and made quite a few quilts, but they can't find any of the others. They think she must have been somewhat wealthy, or her family was well off because of the quality of fabrics and the pride she took in the quilt, her willingness to embroider it and sign it, which was very unusual in those days. But again, it's the only one of hers that they have found. Now, interestingly, as Jane Stickle, pretending I'm Jane Stickle, I won a $2 prize at the Bennington County Fair in 1863. So while my men were fighting down in Gettysburg and Appomattox and fighting for the North, I was quilting, and we were having a fair to pass the time and not worry about the men. And I won a $2 prize for the best quilt. Apparently, I lived some of my life in Shaftesbury, Vermont. It looks like I was married, although for a period of time I was not living with my husband. He was fighting. And that's about, my quilt is, of course, is down at the Bennington Museum now. And it comes out once a year. It's 151 years old. And people from years and years ago have fallen in love with the Dear Jane quilt. And we've talked about it many times on FiberCast, and we've been making blocks for probably half a year now. And I know Sandra's out there making blocks, and Sheila Burton, nice blocks. And there's something that we learned. We learned this together, Sheila, because I did it too. On the Dear Jane quilt, the middle squares, if anyone is using the software, the middle squares print out the right size, 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches. The triangles around the edge, the software is quirky. When it pulls up the image, it's only 4.5 inches high, and that's squat. It's too squat for these. You have to put in the right sizing, and I think it's 5 by 8. It tells you on the pattern what the real size of the triangle should be. So sorry that I didn't mention that sooner. And Sheila, your blocks are looking wonderful. I just heard someone saying hello. Let's see who it was. Now, Jane Stickle didn't have this, did she? I wonder what she would think this is. Let's see who's out there on this Halloween night. Oh, another Jane. My fellow Jane. No, that's wrong. Jean. Jean says, oh, I know Jane did not have an iPhone, but I had to text to say you are adorable. This is the best FiberCast ever. Thank you, Jean. And you'll see that I have our braided rug. So we need to get working on those. Thank you, Jean. How is your block coming? In fact, I want to share your block with everyone. So Jean is, the town we live in now, down in Massachusetts, is celebrating its 300th birthday. And Jean has been very active in preparing the town and preparing all of us for the festivities and the acknowledgement of it. And one of the things she's doing is making a library quilt. And actually, I may have this goofed up. This library quilt may be for the new library we're building in town, or it may be to commemorate the 300th anniversary. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a lot of books that have been made with fabric. So it's early on, and Jean, you continue to inspire us with all of your community work. While I have everyone there, and while I have Jean, your pictures, I love your Bonnie Hunter fabrics. Isn't that funny though? It's let me see if I turn it this way. I think that might be hard for people to see. I'm sorry. It's looking long and narrow, but I love the values that you have of the greens and the pinks, and how you've traded out the teal for a lighter blue and your yellow. That is going to be beautiful. Oh, so no, Jane didn't have an iPhone. I don't think. And she certainly didn't have a malfunctioning old one. No, I have not gotten a new one yet. Come on, folks. Who else is out there? I saw some nice notes on Gmail. Yes, Sheila. Again, Sheila says due to... Oh, lots of you are out there. Hi. Sheila says due to Halloween, she won't be on FiberCast, but she will watch. Joyce Morganelli, hi. Joyce says that she found some camping fabric on the Connected Threads catalog, the Yosemite Park flannel. Actually, and I went and looked at that. Thank you very much for that Yosemite flannel. I love it. It has an old-fashioned camper, just like Joyce told me, and I may use it for the back of my camper quilt. So hi, Joyce. Rita, hi. Haven't spoken with you for a few weeks. Rita says she's sewing along with us tonight from Montana. Still working on the spring mystery quilt. Oh, with the gray. Still love it. Thank you for FiberCast. Oh, Rita, that's wonderful. Please send us pictures. That makes me so happy. That's wonderful. You inspired me to do gray. Sandra, happy Halloween. She says, sorry to miss FiberCast, but my stepdaughter is here as I always have hundreds of trick-or-treaters and she is handling the door for me. Everyone should have a stepdaughter to do that for trick-or-treaters. I will watch later, says Sandra. I also did 2 Dear Jane blocks this week and will send later. Y'all have fun, she says. Oh, good. We can't wait to see them. Excuse me. That's good that you have lots of trick-or-treaters. You must be in a neighborhood or somewhere. One of the things I wanted to share about Halloween, in doing a little bit of research about Halloween, is something called trunk or treating. Apparently, it's taking off in some areas where churches or schools, instead of having children, especially in rural areas, go out and trick-or-treat where the houses are half a mile apart. There is this movement to literally bring your cars together, open up your trunks, and decorate your trunks and hand out candy, and then have the kids go from trunk to trunk. It sounds very urban, doesn't it? But just wanted to mention that I had seen that. Oh, lots of people are busy with their Halloween. I'm glad to hear that. So Lorna also writes, she says, I'm not able to watch tonight. She's wishing everyone a happy Halloween, and she's finally having some cool weather. Hoping for rain, imagine rain in Southern California. We hope to. We all need rain, don't we? Oh, Carol, I'm so glad you're out there. She says, looking forward to watching you live tonight. No trick-or-treaters coming to our door again this year. Their loss, read my waistband loss. Oh, well, happy FiberCasting. I know, it's a quandary, and yet, and you love your sweets too, Carol, but your waistline looks fine. I'm so glad you're on. Welcome. Karen, who I mentioned out in Pennsylvania. Dear Jane, she says, Dear Jane, you are so clever. Love the theme tonight. Good to see you. I'm doing hexies tonight. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween to you too, KB. Sounds like Judy down on the vineyard is at a Halloween dinner, so she may join us later. Well, wonderful. I'm so glad folks are around and trick-or-treaters are coming to your door. The history of Halloween is a celebration from the Middle Ages, started in the Middle Ages, according to some lore, as a celebration of those who have passed before us. The costumes are seen as guises to either scare away. Actually, what are the guises? They're not to scare away those who went before us. I'm going to read this because I pulled it up and it was kind of interesting. And full disclosure, this is Wikipedia. So how reliable it all is, I'm not sure, but it's fascinating. And let's see, there were some tidbits in here that I wanted to share with my quilting friends. Halloween is a yearly celebration observed in a number of countries on October 31st. It's the eve of the Christian feast of All Hallows Day, which is tomorrow. And it's dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints, martyrs, and the faithful departed believers. The jack-o'-lantern is one of the symbols of Halloween, and it represents the souls of the dead. Celebrations include trick-or-treating, costume parties, making the jack-o'-lanterns, lighting bonfires, apple bobbing, and visiting haunted house attractions. Now, there are some, so not to get too deep, because I definitely don't know my history, especially history of a religion, but certain, let's see, I'll just read this. According to many scholars, All Hallows Eve is a Christianized feast initially influenced by Celtic harvest festivals with possible pagan roots, particularly the Gaelic Samhain. Other scholars maintain that it originated independently of Samhain and has solely Christian roots. And I think that's where some of the discrepancy comes in, whether there are pagan and rituals and I don't even know what I'm talking about. It's a chance to dress up and be silly. Typical festive Halloween activities include trick-or-treating or the related guising. And what is guising? That's what I wanted to tell you about. So this Wikipedia goes all through the religion of all times, different parts of the world. Comes to, okay, here we go. So the symbols. That's what I'm more interested in. I think as a visual artist, and just the way my mind thinks, I remember visual things easier or better. I grasp onto those. Some might say it's shallow, low attention span of the new generation, but nonetheless, symbols of Halloween. The development of artifacts and symbols associated with Halloween have formed over time. Jack-o'-lanterns were traditionally carried by the geysers in order to frighten evil spirits. That's what it is. So that's what it is. The trick-or-treating is a customary celebration. Children go in costume from house to house, asking for treats such as candy or sometimes money with the question, trick or treat. The word trick refers to a threat to perform mischief on the homeowners or their property if no treat is given. The practice is said to have roots in the medieval practice of mumming, which is closely related to souling. John Pine writes that many of the feast days associated with the presentation of mumming plays were celebrated by the Christian Church. These feast days included All Hallows Eve, Christmas, Twelfth Night, and Shrove Tuesday. Mumming, practiced in Germany, Scandinavia, and other parts of Europe, involved masked personas in fancy dress who paraded the streets and entered houses to dance or play dice in silence. Their basic narrative framework is the story of St. George and 7 champions of Christendom. And I will let you go to Wikipedia for lots more. It's fun to read about. Here was something, let's see. A costume party in 1819. This cracks me up. 1890. So this is, right now, if I'm Dear Jane, I'm in 1863 or 62 because I'm still working on my quilt, don't you know? 30 years later, look at these far out. Can you see their costumes? Oh, you really can't. It doesn't look like they're wearing costumes at all. It's very funny. It's on Wikipedia. So let's get back to sewing. That's Halloween. I love this bottom line thread. I have to tell you, I labored over whether to use a live flame because I don't use them here in the house. And I figured I would give it a go, and I love it. As long as I'm right here watching it, and you all can text me if something catches on fire. I love it. Even smells good. I enjoyed our FiberCast last Friday night, doing both Jane and that Bridget doll. I have made progress on my Bridget doll. In fact, I wanted to show you all. I have a bag of body parts now. It's fiber. So here's her torso. She still has an opening. And now the head, of course, will go on there. I haven't stuffed her head yet. Get this. I know it's probably a little hard to see, but she has a little teeny tiny nose there. And what I'm going to do is take a little teeny tiny pom-pom, like a little white one that you would use on it, making a little Christmas ornament. You put a little dab of glue and you put that in there right in her nose. And that's the trick for making her nose just pop out. And then you stuff everything around her. And then you go back in and apparently you sculpt her face with Nymo beading thread. So that is going to be her head. And then I haven't even begun her hands. I've sewn them. And I've started to stuff her legs. And there are going to be beads. Beads will go in each joint. So she'll be ball jointed. They're round beads. And you put the thread through so that everything moves. So there are her legs, and then her bottom leg and her feet. And I should have more to show you next week, but I wanted you to see some progress. But I had done that. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that folks have been working on their Dear Jane. That is great news. And everyone's getting their Bonnie Hunter fabric ready. And Rita in Montana, it must be is it getting cold in Montana, I bet? This bottom line thread is invisible. Let's see, what else has been going on? Oh, the World Series. Congratulations to both Kansas City and San Francisco. What a fun series to watch. Both teams did so well. I was a little more interested in this year's game because I felt like I knew someone on the San Francisco Giants, which is so funny. I wonder why that is. It's the human interest. You know, people, they aren't just a no-name. It's someone. Well, here's the story. My boss's sister's son is Brandon Crawford, who is the shortstop for the San Francisco Giants. And he played really well. He made some awesome double plays. And he looks like I can see my boss's facial features in him. So that was kind of funny to see that on live TV. Anyway, small world. And to tell you what a small world it is, not only is he related to my boss, but another coworker's daughter went to school with him out in California, to high school. Small world. I suspect those of you who have kids in college, are they coming home for Thanksgiving? Are you getting ready to have them home? Okay, I'm getting to a point here. I'm going to go. I know we're starting to think about it, getting excited. I saw a It's almost like I want to, the points are really hard to do, aren't they? But I'll just keep trying it. I saw an interesting tidbit which said, it may have been in the AARP magazine, I don't know, or newsletter, but they said that anticipating something, whether it's, and this can go both ways, I'm sure, but on the positive side, anticipating a get-together or a vacation or something can actually cause more good feelings and more of those good things that happen in your body than the actual activity itself. So that just said to me, enjoy the process of preparation. That's half the fun. And I know for travel, that's with me. I love to think about going and anticipating being in a hotel, eating out. Took a walk today during my lunch hour and went to the garden up the street. And boy, is our kale being decimated by, I don't know if it's the cabbage moths or what, but there are very few kale meals coming back. Now, what would Jane Stickle be eating? I bet she would be big into harvests back in the 1860s in Vermont. Her name was Jane A. Blakely Stickle. Kind of interesting. And I don't know if you can see behind me or here, but these 3 quilts are 3 of 4 that I have from the late 1800s. And the one right here is just a top, and it's falling apart. Literally, it's disintegrating. I'm pretty sure I got that out at Brimfield years ago, as I did the one hanging on the wall, which I really like. And then the one over my shoulder, my mother gave me and was at the end of our couch in Needham for years. And that also is really quite fragile and falling apart. I looked at it closely. So the one, let's see. So this one is just the top. The one behind me has stuffing. It's tied, and all the stuffing has fallen down. So in many places, it's just fabric against fabric. And then this one over here, the log cabin, each log cabin square was sewn to what looks like a piece of muslin, very loose woven muslin. So the log cabin square is made. All the log cabin squares are sewn together, and then just a backing is put on with no stuffing in between. So it's very thin. Could have been a summer quilt, or a summer throw, or anyway, the reason I brought that up, all of that up, was to say, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I also have a quilt also made by a Jane Eliza Dewey, and it's over in an acid-free box, and I'm going to bring it out for our November Marathon Quilters meeting. We're having a potluck, and we're doing some hand quilting, and so I'm going to bring it out and show it there. It's in a book, Plain and Fancy, of Vermont Quilters, along with Jane Stickle's quilt. So it's from the same era, and my grandmother, well, my father's father's family had a house on Main Street in Northfield. And when his parents died, so my great-grandparents on my father's side, they were cleaning out the attic, and they found Civil War uniforms, and they found lots of things, including this old quilt. And it has been beautifully taken care of for all of these years, and I have it to, I'm the custodian of it right now. So, and the more I think about it, I think I want to see if the Bennington Museum is interested in it. Why not? They have a good place to keep them. They store all the quilts flat, and then over time they just pull them out and rotate them, which is certainly better than I treat my quilts here. I just heard someone say hello. Jacqueline, welcome. We have some new people joining us. Love it. Happy Halloween. Oh, don't you love the noise? Oh, Joyce Long, hi. Oh, Joyce says, I love FiberCast tonight. How original, and you are so adorable. Like my hat. Actually, this is supposed to be my bun, right? Getting ready to put my leaf quilt on the frame. Hopefully I will get it quilted this weekend. I live way back in the woods, so I never get trick-or-treaters. Have a great weekend, Joyce from Maryland. Very cool. Thank you for the tip about the Flexi pen. I wanted to mention that to everyone. Last week, I was doing my little disappearing trick, and the truth be told, I had never tried that yet because this was a new pen. So I was delighted when it ever erased. Basically, you can write on things, and then with your iron, you can iron it and disappear. But Joyce wanted us to know that make sure to test it first, that it doesn't always work as well as it looked. So anyway, everyone knows that, but I just wanted to share that. And thank you, Joyce. And I love your leaf quilt. It's good. It's a good fall thing to be doing. Karen from San Diego and her purple pineapple. Is that what you're sending? I'm downloading the picture right now. I hope they let you go home early from work. Oh my. Yay, yay, yay. Get ready, everyone. Isn't that nice? That is Purple Blossom. That is what Karen started at Bonnie Hunter's class a couple of weeks ago. Wow. I love your contrast, and I love the white. That's beautiful. And if my stocking is correct, that's going to your daughter. Is that right? Stocking in a good way. I'm just interested. Oh, awesome. You and Karen in San Diego, you read my mind. So she says, I'm not at work tonight. I'm at my Quilt Guild's retreat in Temecula for the weekend. Hi. Hello to the retreat. Doing lots of different things, but I promised a pic of my pineapple blossom quilt. Thank you. Oh, have a blast. I hope I said that right, Temecula. And Peggy Down Under, happy fall. I know I say that every time. Peggy says, I'm at home this morning and I'm so excited to know that perhaps this will get to you before you go live. I am sewing at the moment, watching your last week's show and enjoying it. I am attaching a quilt I made for a new grandmom for when the little tours come over to play. Oh, the little tours. Love your FiberCast, Lynn. Please keep it up. It brings us great pleasure. Peg. Oh, Peg. It brings me so much pleasure too. And I'm so, thank you for the encouragement. And oh my, thank you for sharing your wonderful art. It flipped on me. So Peg was probably, oh, can you see that? Oh, it keeps slipping. One of the first viewers of FiberCast and a great motivator of me personally. So thank you, Peg. And the quilts that you make are just always scrappy, always stunning. And you've sent so many different tips. Like if you look closely, these are scraps that you put together masterfully. So thank you for sharing that. And maybe, hopefully people can see it online. That is neat. Aren't you nice? Nancy. Oh, she says, this is funny. Nancy says, hi, Lynn. Oops, I mean Jane. Hello. I wonder what Jane was like. Love that you are doing this, as Jane Stickle. Awesome, she says. I just acquired a Singer treadle machine this past week that I've dated back to 1911. My husband is even excited about helping me clean it up and get it into working order. I'm not sewing tonight, but instead waiting for trick-or-treaters. So far, it's quite a quiet night, as it is pretty cool. Nancy in Iowa. Awesome, Nancy. That is great, great fun. We have a lead on a new treadle belt if you need it. A good source for it. Not leather, but rubber. So let me know if you need that. 1911, wow. So glad to see everyone. I must get to my work. Did you see that I have a apron on? My husband said he didn't recognize me when I had my apron on. Yeah. So fun. We have retreats. We have trick-or-treaters. We have people doing long arm sewing. Can you imagine not having a hobby? I don't know. The more experience I get working, the more, meaning, you learn how to do your job, and after a while, for me, it took many, many years to learn, figure, it is what it is. I know how to do it, and I'm not going to stress about it all day and all night. I used to work a lot. You just need something else to occupy your time. So I'm very thankful for this quilting and fiber arts thing. Had my credit card hacked. Got an automated call just yesterday saying that my credit card, someone from Luxembourg, had charged $18 on my credit card. So luckily the credit card company saw that it was a different behavior than what I had done before. And they immediately, they sent me an automatic phone call, had me call them back. They immediately canceled my card. They're sending me a new card. So the moral there is check every transaction, because I've had it happen to me once before. They tried to sneak in a few little transactions and see if they can get away with it. This is the smallest needle I've ever seen. How did I thread it before? Don't you wonder if Jane did sewing bees? Or if she had sisters or brothers? Let's go with a different needle. This would be a very big needle, but Believe it or not, I have a second square to do tonight, so I should get motoring on this one. I have a lot of basting on this. I basted each leaf first, then I put it onto the backing and I basted it a second time. So when I'm doing the final applique, then I'll pull out my 2 sets of basting stitches. I just find it's easier than turning under the needle turn every time. It probably doesn't make for as smooth a turn, but it's how I have been doing this one lately. Wow, Peggy, down in Australia, I'm so glad that you have joined us. And I love to see your new work. I was wondering what you'd been working on. Actually, it's not fall there, it's spring, right? I think I misspoke. There we go. So if Halloween did start hundreds of years ago and has long history, then it could have been going on when Jane was up in Vermont. I don't know if I told anyone, but we usually don't get trick-or-treaters, unfortunately. We're on a bit of a windy road. There are houses, but it's windy and it's dark. There are not street lights right near us. So a few years ago, some neighbor kids came by, and many years ago, we had Cam and we had other nieces and nephews come by, which was a treat, and neighborhood kids from where we used to live. But now, for the most part, we don't. With Bob in the basement and me up here, we did put some some candy out front, and this is pretty classic. So Bob, before his bandmates come over, he yells to me, "Did you put the candy out on the front steps?" And I say, "No." And he says, "Why not?" I say, "Well, because I don't want the bandmates to eat it all." Because, of course, I want to eat it, which is not good. So I put it out. Not good at all. All right, one more. We're getting there. I did think about being a spool of thread for my costume. And I was going to put like a round thing on my head for the top of the spool. And then I was thinking a round thing here. It just felt cumbersome. It wasn't going to work. Or put a round thing here. I want to finish this one up and show you the next one. Keep on sewing. Peggy down in Australia, let us know if you're going to do Bonnie Hunter's quilt, Grand Illusion. Or if you're going to do a mystery. You know, the doll, there's a doll group that I'm part of called Textile Tarts. And we meet once a month, and I'm new to this group. So this is my second year, and I was invited to attend, and it's really, what I'm learning is it's a very talented group of doll makers. They drive from the Cape and from New Hampshire and from around different parts of Massachusetts. And there are about a dozen of them. And it's really cool to see what they come up with. Their work is just amazing. So anyway, it's a new adventure for me. And I don't know if I told you this, but the next meeting is, so all of these people have been making dolls for years. And apparently after you make dolls for years, you end up with extra parts, bags of, doll parts, like I showed you here. So there's this challenge where everyone is going to bring in a brown paper bag a doll in parts or maybe put together that is a UFO, much like we have quilt UFOs, but this is a doll UFO. Put it in a nondescript brown bag, then we trade them and we take it away, and between now and February, we finish the doll and then bring it back. So part of me is really excited. Of course, I don't have any extra parts, so I have to make some parts. I'm really excited to see what someone does with them. And then I'm challenged, but I'm also kind of, I'm challenged to produce something that is worthy. So we'll see. It could be fun. It will be fun. Oh, and then I guess we get back together in February and we try to guess who started the doll and who completed it. So it'll be fun. I'm just to the end of both my thread and my sewing. So no, I don't have enough. Boy, back in the 1860s, the hardest part was threading these needles with candlelight. Yikes. Hello. Oh, I never met a challenge I didn't like. Joni. I read part of her text online. Oh, we've got several messages. All right. Joni says, Jane, she says, you should try sewing with just the candle. LOL. That is how they did their sewing back in the day. I can't. You wouldn't be able to see me. But that's very funny. You made me laugh. Hi, Lynn, I think from Cindy. I said hi to Jacqueline. Oh, and Jean, who I showed the library quilt early on. Jean confirms the library quilt is for the library. Never fear, though, there's also a 300th quilt. I'm just the ideal girl. Idea girl. I make Lima do all the hard stuff. Oh, that's funny. We need both. We need all kinds to make creative things. Oh, and Lima is your design girl. She is talented. Oh, Joni, you made me laugh. How could I ever, let's see, I'd have to go up here near the candle and try not to have it burn the thread. Ooh, and the polyester thread, woo, it would sizzle up, wouldn't it? And curl up, melt. Okay, let's finish this puppy. So glad to have people join. Patty down in Texas, hi. Hope you're able to join. And Becca. And Anne up in Canada. And Bridget down the street, who said she couldn't believe that the Bridget doll spelled her name the same way, and she does. Okay. So this is an example of a block for my beach quilt that doesn't have as much contrast as some of the others, but I think it'll be okay. It'll give a place for the eye to rest. So let me pull out the other one while we still have a few minutes left, and I'll show you. We should be able to get started, and then I'll finish it and post a picture. So there's that one. The next one I'm doing is, let's see, it's another applique on white. And let me pull out what number it is. Oh, I marked it. I marked it so I can make notes about today's date. So this is an I-5 Maria's Majesty. And what I have done is I drew the pattern on a piece of, oh, what is that? Wax paper, freezer paper. So there's wax on one side, and I ironed it down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this under, and I'm going to applique it on. Then I'm going to take the freezer paper off, and I'm not sure I even showed you the picture. I'm sorry. So we're making that one. And so the pink is the blue in mine. So I think I should be able to put that on, and then I have 4 of these leaves that I'll cut out and applique on. In fact, I'll cut those out right now. And this is a different way. I mean, I could take the paper off and turn it under and baste it, or I can leave the paper on and do the needle turn as I go. And maybe I'll try that on this one. It's just all what you're in the mood for, don't you think? And it's just amazing what we get done in 60 minutes. I know I say it every week, and I'm going to say it every week because it's true. If we weren't doing this, think of what we wouldn't be getting done. And we chip away at it, and before you know it, we're going to be collecting our prize from the county fair for our quilt, no matter what they are. And even if we don't get a prize, we get the knowledge that we did it and the satisfaction. So let me try and just get this one down. So I've pinned it on, and now I'm literally going to take my thread all the way around. And I'm going to clip the indents to just a thread or two. That's where the trickiness will be. You know, when you do applique this way, there's a trick to know where to place it. Like if you're doing a big vine around the edge of your border of your quilt, you can take plastic that you might cover furniture with or create a clear plastic tablecloth or whatever. You can buy it at Joann's. You draw your pattern on that clear plastic, and then you overlay that on your long panel. And then underneath, you stick these pieces in there and position them. So you never have to draw on the actual fabric that you're appliquing onto, and yet the position is correct. It's a great thing, and it can be reused for many times. Anne taught me that. Anne over in Milford, Anne Hancock's. She's a wonderful appliquer. So I just keep going around this. And I guess technically I'm not using my needle to turn under, using my fingers. And I'll show you this. So far, see what I've sewn? I've turned that under. Well, I hope by now that you've had some trick-or-treaters. You've treated yourself to a piece of candy. You've enjoyed your Friday night or your Friday or your Saturday morning. It's amazing what we can get done in 60 minutes. Thank you for indulging me as I was Jane Stickle for 60 minutes. I bet she would have gotten more done. I did a lot of jabbing, but it was so nice to have everyone join us and keep working on something this weekend, throughout next week, and next time we get together, it will be November 2014. So thanks for joining me. It was a great FiberCast. Have a great, productive week, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone. Ready? Bye.